Good morning. My name is Victor Ochieng, and I'm happy to be here again this morning. I was here some times back to talk about remaining focused while learning from home, and therefore I want to thank God because of this day. That He has created another chance for me to be here, for me to be here again. Today we are going to talk about the influence of fathers based on what we were celebrating yesterday. All of us know that yesterday we were celebrating Father's Day, and therefore by extension today I've chosen to come here to talk about the influence of fathers. I'm a teacher by profession, a teacher of English, language and literature, and apart from being a teacher, I'm also a writer. I contribute letters, or rather missives, in the Saturday Nation. And apart from contributing the letters, I'm also a published author. One of the books that I've published is titled Boys Be Men. And therefore, I want to share some of the insights in that book that would be very important to fathers, and more so the people who are immediate to fathers, that is the boy child, and how fathers can mentor the boy child. So welcome to this great presentation on the influence of fathers. You realize that fathers influence us immensely, and part of what I want to talk about is, one, I want us to look at some startling statistics. Some startling statistics, and two, I want us to look at forms of manhood, Three, I want us to look at a different thing. After looking at the forms of manhood and startling statistics, I want us to look at the types of dads. Very, very important. Now, on the startling statistics that I want us to look at, which concern the boy child, or which concern what we are talking about today, I want us to see this. Three things. One, there is a research that was conducted in the US that I want us to reflect on. And this research will influence or will inform our talk this day. This research done some years back in the US revealed that 80% of rapists came from fatherless homes. 90% of all homeless and runaway children came from fatherless homes. 85% of all children who exhibited behavioral disorders came from fatherless homes. 85% of youths rotting in prison grew up in fatherless homes. 70% of juvenile delinquencies also came from fatherless homes. 63% of youths who ended up their lives through suicide came from fatherless homes, and 75% of all adolescent patients in chemical abuse centers also came from fatherless homes. 71% of school dropouts also came from fatherless homes. Now, you look at, based on this research, you get to know that there is a way fathers influence their children. And we shall see as we progress in this presentation. Shifting our focus from the free world and to come to Kenya, there is also a research that was conducted at Nairobi Prison in the year 2009, and then the other one was conducted at the Industrial Area Remand Prison. You can read more of these in one of the books by Simon Mbevi. The book is titled Boys to Men. A study conducted with a sample of 200 guests of state, or rather the prisoners, in 2009 revealed the following: that 52% grew up without fathers, 10% had abusive fathers, only 10% had a good relationship with their dads. So you can see that even most of the people who are in prison, and perhaps what has contributed to them being there, them being guests of state, we can argue that it is because of lack of the grip of the father. The lack of the father factor. The last statistics I want us to reflect on is the one on the Industrial Area Remand Prison. In this corrective facility that houses over 3,000 men, this is what came to light after the study. 78% grew up without fathers, 8% had abusive fathers, 6% had passive dads, present but absent. And you shall realize that as we continue with this presentation, we shall be able to explore the types of dads, and you shall be able to realize that what we are talking about is really true. But what I want us to know is that dad is destiny. Dad is the determinant of destiny in umpteen ways. That you as a father figure, you as a dad, you determine the future of your children. The other thing that I want us to look at is that the influence of fathers goes beyond. And someone argued that it even boils down, or it cascades to the fourth generation. And that is why I want to urge all fathers out there to rise up and to take responsibility. The other thing I want us to reflect on is that is the meaning of a father. The meaning of a father is that the father is the founder. The father is the foundation. The father is the author and the authority. Children learn how to submit to authority at home. That means that if the authority is not well instilled or well inculcated at home, then it can never be there. And that is why you see sometimes people who are in school, like the teachers and the principals and most of the educationists, they are children that look stubborn and they look obstinate in nature simply because they have not learned authority. And we are arguing here that authority begins at home. Now, what then to a single mother? Because somebody may be arguing that now you are talking about fathers. That does it mean that when I'm a single mother, I cannot win the war? You can still win the war. The only thing that you need to do is that you need to connect your son to a father figure. And these father figures are so many. You can get them in church, you can get them at school, you can get them all over. Because there are things that the boy child can only learn when he is able to emulate a man, or is able to see it in a man. Think of dressing. Think of being able to put on the belt properly and behaving like a man. And that is why Stephen Kigwa, in his book, titled The Maze of Masculinity, argues that one well done from the father is better than 20 kisses from the mother. This does not mean that it's trying to underestimate or to lower the position of mothers in the society. What it's trying to do, or what it's trying to say, is that fathers ought to take responsibility. Because we as fathers, when we fail in our responsibility, then we shall fail to raise the boy child. Remember, psychologists talk about monkey see, monkey do. So they learn through modeling and vicarious learning. Now, after looking at that statistics, I would want us also to reflect on what I called the marks. We look at the forms of manhood. Very, very important. I want us to reflect on that. The forms of manhood. I want us to reflect on the forms of manhood. I want us to look at the forms of manhood. Forms of manhood. Now, the first form of manhood I want us to look at is the boy. 2 is the man. 3 is what we call the husband. 4 is what we call a father. And 5 is what we call elder. So I want to talk about those 5 forms of manhood: a boy, a man, a husband, a father, and an elder. Now, that is something that we must understand, that when we talk about the whole idea of manhood and the whole idea of being a father and the influence of fatherhood, we need to understand these forms of manhood. And who is a boy? A boy is a male person who is not yet mature. A man is a male person who understands responsibility. We say that responsibility is the sure mark of masculinity. That basically what makes a man is being responsible. And my good friend Joe Mwangi argues in his book, Why Boys Are Not Becoming Men, that being a man is not just growing tall, because even trees are tall, but they are not men. Being a man is not just having beards, because even billy goats have beards, but they are not men. Being a man is being responsible. And that is what we shall see when we shall talk about the marks of manhood, that what makes a man is responsibility. It is not about the biceps, the triceps, and even joceps. It is not about the height. It is not about the weight. It is not about any other thing, but it is responsibility. Therefore, we need to understand that we have a lot of boys out there, or big babies, or big boys, who are masquerading as men, who have refused to mature to become men. Because you can see a man who is 27 years old, or a male person who is 27 years old, who is still tied in his mother's apron strings. What am I trying to say? You find somebody who is elderly enough, as I'm saying, 27 years old, and still relies on parents, on everything, and lacks self-drive, lacks a sense of responsibility, which is very bad. Now, the boy the man, and then we come to a husband. You become a husband when you accept to take someone's daughter and you marry. You become a husband. Then we shift from a husband to a father. A father now is somebody who is able to protect, to prioritize, and to provide for his family. But someone may say, what of maybe the Catholic fathers are not married, but they are called fathers. They are called fathers basically because they take care of a big family. They take care of the bigger household of God, as it is the responsibility. Then you realize that you as a father, in case your influence can go beyond the radius of your family, whereby you take responsibility in the bigger society. You can take responsibility in church, in the community, in the country, then you qualify to be called an elder. So being an elder is not just about having a gray hair or being old, but it is all about understanding the sphere of influence, understanding your responsibility in the society. So that is what we call the forms of manhood. And maybe after talking about the forms of manhood, it is important for us also to shift our focus and to look at the marks of manhood. The marks of manhood. The marks of manhood. What makes a man? And I've discussed part of it in this discussion, in this presentation. So what makes a man? What makes a man? Now, one, I've underscored the essence of responsibility. And you see, when we talk about responsibility, responsibility varies. Number two, we look at loyalty. We look at royalty. We look at things like integrity. We look at faith. We look at faith. Now, you see, it is important to know some of the things that make up a man. And I know when we talk about the idea of manhood, I know that we live in a country with several ethnic groups. And in our diversity, there is a way we believed from the beginning what makes a man. And I know when we talk about manhood and what makes a man, we talk about a lot of things like rites of passage. Rites of passage. Like there are communities that believed that being a man is all about going through the rite of circumcision. There was the removal of the 6 lower teeth. There were several rites of passage. But you see, you can go through these rites of passage, but you still don't understand the whole notion of manhood. What makes a man? Because we are reflecting on the influence of fathers. And when we talk about the influence of fathers, we are saying that you don't just become a father. There are steps that you have to go through. As we looked at in the forms of manhood, we said you have to accept to go through being a boy and mature up, become a man, mature up, become a father or a dad, mature up, become a husband before you become, of course, a father, and then accept to become an elder. Now, The first thing is responsibility, as we have seen there. And I want to underscore the essence of responsibility. And I want to say that responsibility is not the same depending on your age. When I'm talking to a boy in standard 4, who we are telling that he should mature up and become a man, the responsibility that he has, we can say that is different from the responsibility of a Form 2 boy, or the responsibility of a young man in college, or the responsibility of someone who is a husband, or the responsibility of a man who is in his middle age. Now you look at it, that when we talk about being responsible, it means that you as a boy who is in class 4, when you talk about you, things like even being told to bathe, that you can't bathe until you are reminded to bathe. It means you're not responsible. Just like I went to a certain school once upon a time, and I met a boy who only bathed 4 times in a term. A term that had got 14 weeks, he only bathed 4 times. The first time he bathed, they were going for a funky in a girls' school. The second time he bathed, girls were coming to their school. The third time he bathed, he heard that parents were to come to their school. And the fourth time he bathed, his classmates had decided to wash him. Now you see, when you behave this way, this is some sense of immaturity. If you have to be reminded to do your assignments, you have to be reminded to attend to home chores, then it means you're not understanding your responsibility. What of a young man in college who does not understand what makes a man? Maybe thinks that being a man is all about having multiple sex partners and donating his sperms here and there and dropping his seeds here and there. So he gets it all wrong, and he goes ahead even impregnating maybe some girls, and he cannot take charge of that. He cannot take responsibility. Then that is irresponsibility, and that one does not make you a man. Number 2, we have said that loyalty makes you a man. And that means that you as a man, you should understand that being a man is being responsible and not being incorrigible. And loyalty means that you can submit to authority at home, you can submit to authority in church, you can submit to authority at school, because those are marks of manhood. Those are things that make you as a man. Being difficult, being incorrigible, being obstinate do not make you a man. We have also talked about royalty. Royalty is something that is very difficult to explain, but when someone has it, you can see it. It comes out. It oozes openly. You don't have to explain that you have it. Apart from that, we have also said that things like values like integrity, values like honesty makes up a man. And lastly, we are saying that it is important to focus on faith. And let me say something here. When you talk about fatherhood, the greatest model of fatherhood is God. Because when we focus on religion, we learn the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. In the sense that it is that a father can only learn how to father the children and how to behave like a father when he focuses on God, because God is the father of all. And therefore, how do you understand this? How do you get to embrace this? It is only when you accept faith. I don't know where you fellowship. I don't know where you go to church. I don't know your religious inclination and matters of faith that governs you. But the truth of the matter is that if you want to be a good father, you must fear God. You must know that there is a father who is above all fathers. And he's the one who can teach us how to be good fathers. He's the one who can teach us to be good men. And that is why when we look at the Bible, you see, of course, the Bible is written based on the Hebrew culture, the Old Testament. And you see, when we see even the Bible using the masculine form, there is something that we really need to think about in reference to that. Because through that, when we read that, we get to understand how God works. And if God works that way, then we men, we must understand this notion, and we must be able to take responsibility and take the leadership role. And that is why when Paul is teaching the church at Ephesus, he's telling them that husbands, love your wives, and wives, submit to your husbands. And just like Christ loved the church, so husbands, love your wives. Now, once you have looked at once you have looked at the marks of manhood, I want us to reflect on the last bit of this presentation, which is types of dads. Remember, we are exploring the influence of a father, or the influence of fathers. We are exploring now types of dads. And we have basically different types of dads. One, we have somebody we call absent dad. Two, we have somebody we call passive dad. Passive dad. Three, we have somebody we call an abusive dad. And four, we have someone we call present dad. Present dad. Now, you look at it that you as a dad or you as a father, you should understand that we have different types of dads. And I want to explore these four. And as I explore these four, if you're a dad out there, I want you to look at yourself and find out what sort of a dad you are. The first one, we are saying that we have a person we call an absent dad. Of course, an absent dad does not exist because this could be in a family where we have had a divorce or a separation. Or it could be a family where the dad has been wiped out by death. So he's not present, he died. And we have many families where we do not have dads because of death, because of divorce, because of separation. Now, as I captured it, I said that if in case you are a mother who is taking care of the children alone, the dad is not there. It might have happened that there was a divorce or there was a separation or death came in. That does not mean that everything is lost as I captured it. I said that you, as a mother, you can still take responsibility. We have seen many mothers, and I know several mothers who have taken responsibility, and they are shouldering a lot of burdens. They are taking care of their children. And that does not mean that it only ends there. You can explore other avenues to be able to raise up your children responsibly. A classic example is Sonia Carson that I quoted here when I came to talk about remaining focused while learning from home. Sonia Carson raised Ben Carson, and she was a single mother, but she looked for other support systems. One of those support systems is that she encouraged Ben Carson to read books, and one of the books that that Ben Carson read was the autobiography of Booker T. Washington and all that. And he read other books. You as a mother who is acting as a single mother, you can also identify these men who are responsible, who can act as mentors to your son or to your daughters in church, in school, and all over. Now, number 2 is what we are calling a passive dad. This is a dad who is present but absent. And we have several families that are experiencing this all over the world. These are the fathers who suffer from TB. We say they are too busy. They could be there, but they don't understand what it means by being a parent or by being a father. You realize that these are the parents who confuse presence with presence, in the sense that they even end up bribing their children. Like yesterday, we were in a certain Zoom meeting, and we were talking to some parents with my good friend called Samuel Kanja. And I remember we explored this, that there are even parents who think that after they have paid fees, they are behaving like sponsors, they are behaving like AMREF, NGOs and all that. They think that after they have paid fees, then they have done everything. But you see, your children, you as a dad, and especially the boy child, needs your attention, needs to see you. There are things that he can only learn if in case you model it in him. There are only things that your children can learn when you show them, as we captured, as we said, about monkey see, monkey do syndrome. Now, there is this story of a dad who was present but absent. He used to give his son very little attention. And therefore, because he did not have enough time with his son, he would call his son who is 10 years old and he would tell him, you, that thing between your legs is called discipline. And anytime that someone comes to this house, especially a guest or a visitor, show discipline. So what happened is that once upon a time when a guest really came, the boy climbed on the table and undressed and showed discipline. Now, the father had a very good story to tell. The father had a very good teaching. But the only problem is that there was little attention and there was no ample time or sufficient time to explain all this. So we have an absent dad, and we said that that could be because of divorce, separation, or death. Then we have someone we call a passive dad. He is present but absent, maybe because of the rat race and the issue of chasing after money. And that is why COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise. Because once this time has enabled parents to sit with their children because of the notion of working from home. There are many parents who have sat with their children and at least they have learned their children and at least they are bonded with their children. So that is the silver lining in this cloud. Now, apart from the absent dad, the passive dad, number 3, we have a dad that we call an abusive dad. This is a dad that beats up the children. It could be the dad that beats up the wife, even in the full glare of the children, and this traumatizes the children. I've listened to many cases because I talk to many children in this country. I've listened to cases whereby children are really stressed and tensed because of what is happening at home. They even fear being at home, and that's why you see, even during this COVID-19 crisis, you hear that domestic violence has really escalated because there are some fathers or there are some men who believe that they show that they are men by being violent, by being aggressive, by being pugnacious in nature, which is not really the truth. It is not the truth. But I want to challenge you to be this last type of dad. Be this type of dad who is present. You are present for your children. You are there for your wife. You are there for your family. Very, very important. Now, I want to say that this topic really touches me so much because of how personally I grew up. Let me share a bit of my story. I, Ochieng, a son of the lake, I was born outside wedlock. My mother gave birth to me before she got married. Actually, when she was still a teenager. After giving birth to me, she took me to my maternal grandparents in a remote village in the intestines of Siaya County. So I was raised by maternal grandparents, a grandmother and a grandfather. I'm really grateful to these grandparents because they really taught me a lot. I lost my mother at a very tender age. At a very tender age. When I was 7, when I was just getting to standard 1. Unfortunately, when my mother died, she had not introduced me to my biological father. Every time I used to ask my mother to show me my father when she was still alive, she only quoted for me Psalm 68 verse 5. Every time that I asked my mother to show me my father, she only quoted for me Psalm 68 verse 5 that says, God is a father to the fatherless and the judge to the widows. But I want to thank God because I grew up with a grandfather who eventually became a father figure. The man is still alive. Actually, is now an octogenarian, which means he's between 80 to 89 years old. Very old, old like hills. But he is the one that I can say that was the father figure in my life. And I remember these are the people even who taught me about faith, because we are saying that one of the marks of manhood is faith. So my grandmother used to be a Catholic, a Roman Catholic, but my grandfather used to be an Anglican, though he used to go to church only twice in a year, on Christmas Day and on 1st of January. But all the same, they introduced me to God, just like Timothy was introduced to God by the grandmother Lois and the mother Eunice. And the knowledge of God at an early age really helped me, as I shared here when I came for the other presentation. But what I'm basically saying here is that in case you don't have a biological father, that should not stress you as a child, because for me, it did not stress me. I had to accept myself. I had to accept the situation, because in most of my interactions with young people in schools, I've realized that there are some young people who are not even able to bring out the best in them, because somebody may be sitting there and saying, I don't have a biological father, I don't have a mother, I don't have a father figure in my life. If that biological father is not there, there are many fathers in the society. There are many fathers in the society. You can get a father figure in school, you can get a father figure in church. What you only need to do is to open your two egg-like oval eyes and see these people in the society. There is no shortage of these people. And if you cannot see them, do not give up, because above all, there is a Father in heaven. And we said that God the Father is the perfect model of a father. And that is what encouraged me. And I shared here that when I was in standard 8, our head teacher came to class. A dark, tall man. Dark like 1,000 midnights. And he came with forms from Starehe Boys Center. And he said that Starehe is a school that sponsors boys from a humble background. You could be academically gifted, but financially embarrassed. You can get your way at Starehe. And I filled the forms with glee, with happiness, with bliss, and I knew that I would go to Starehe. When I sat for KCPE, I only scored 339 marks. But you see, for me to go to Starehe, I'd been told that I had to score 400 marks. So I missed the chance. When it seemed like I was walking away from my dreams, I got very good fathers in the church I used to go to, a church called Christian Outreach Ministries in Yala. That is those sides of game in Siaya. These people told me that after they had seen that I had missed Starehe, I had an invitation to Kanga High School and St. Mary's School Yala. They told me, now we cannot take you to Kanga High School. We cannot take you to St. Mary's School Yala. You have also missed Starehe Boys Center. But there's a certain small school here, a decimal day school, with an onomatopoeic name called Nyamninia Secondary School. They asked me, do you accept to go to that school? I said, yes. What I want is to go to school. So that's how I found myself at Nyamninia. When I arrived in Nyamninia, I told myself, places don't make people, but people make places. I opened my eyes and saw people that could come in instrumentally in my life. I saw hope in my teachers. I saw hope in those who are ahead of me. In church, I also got mentored, because you realize that when you talk about the issue of manhood and we talk about the influence of fathers, then it means that you as a boy, you as a young person, you should also submit to mentorship. Because what a young man does not learn through mentorship, he learns through experimentation. Your mentor determines your mentality. And that's why when we read in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, Paul is telling Timothy, Timothy, my son, grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I like what he says in verse 2. And the things you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit them to faithful men who will also teach others. Look at that. So you see it, that it is mentorship. I want to finish, and I want to say that fathers in the society must know that their influence is really powerful. Just like I have said, my greatest influence is my grandfather. And even when I was growing up, he told me a lot of stories. And I've started writing some of those stories that he used to narrate to me, that he used to share with me. I've documented in one of my books called The Man Who Arrived Late for His Funeral, and other stories, which has got 20 stories in total. But what I'm trying to say is that as I captured that authority is learned from home. It begins at home. If we fail at home, then we fail completely. And that is why we must take COVID-19 as a blessing in disguise. Because you as a father, you can make good use of this time to bond with your children. It reminds me of a story which I want to end with. When I was teaching in a certain private school here in Nairobi, before I engaged in fully in consultancy, I shared this story elsewhere. And being part of administration, once upon a time, we suspended a boy from school because of indiscipline. When he went home, his father was really worked up. He asked, what do you want now? I just paid the fee the other day. I've taken care of everything. Now, what do these teachers want? And the boy said, I don't know what they want, but they are looking for you. They want you to go to school. There is something they want to square with you. Because this boy did not even take the letter home. When the father arrives in the staff room, he's fuming and frothing like a snake. We are telling him, Daddy, why don't you sit down? He's worked up. He says, I can't sit down. He looks at the son and he tells the son, sit down, you cow. In fact, you are a big cow. Of course, the son looks at his father and tells his father, I'm not a cow, I am a calf. What is this son trying to say? He's trying to say that if indeed he's a cow, he's a small cow. The big cow is the father. Because these things are learnt at home. But you see, some of us parents, we look at what happens and we blame schools. And that's why you see now COVID-19 break is revealing a lot of things. It's revealing a lot of things because most of the time, even parents will not accept that their children are wrong. They would say, my child was innocent like a bird. I think this child has been spoiled at school. We always believe that the bad child is in the next fence. Our children are innocent. Our children are okay. And that is why I want to say that we as parents and more so fathers, we must take charge, because dad is destiny. The influence of a father is great. The influence of a father is powerful. I want to do a recap of what I've looked at. But before I do that, there are people who have reached out here. Somebody saying here, good work, Victor. I am watching Nikiwa, Kwale County, county number 2. Victor, my college mate at Presbyterian University, you are really impressing me. Great, asante sana. Hey there, following from Gadhanji ward of Nyandarua County. That's good insight. I'm Njoroge wa Nyandarua. Thank you, Njoroge. Sharon from Eldoret. Does it mean that only men take responsibility, Mr. Ochieng? Now, I don't mean that only men take responsibility. What I mean is that today I was talking about the influence of fathers. In case I was talking about the influence of mothers, I would have captured also mothers. But specifically, I was addressing fathers. But of course, you have seen in my presentation, I've also captured parents holistically. So, just to do a recap of what we have looked at. We have looked at the influence of fathers. And we have begun with the startling statistics. And I've given you a scenario of a research which was done in the free world in the US. And then I've also given you a scenario of what transpired, or a research which was done in the industrial area, Remand Prison and Nairobi West Prison. And you have seen how these statistics are revealing that children are a true reflection of what their fathers are. So you've seen that in that research which was done in the US, some of the children who are unruly, who got into drugs, who went to the streets, who went through a lot of things, some of them did not have fathers. Fathers were not there. And you've seen what we have looked at there. We have also captured what happened in those prisons, and we have seen how fathers influence the society. Apart from that, we have also looked at the forms of manhood, and we have said that we have different forms of manhood. We have a boy, an immature male person who has not become a man. We have said that a man is a mature male person who understands responsibility. We have looked at a husband, that you only become a husband when you are ready, and you can take someone's daughter and marry and take care of her. And we have also talked about someone we call a father, someone who is able to prioritize, protect, and provide for his family. Then we have even gone a notch higher, and we have talked about an elder. And we have said that being an elder in the society is not just about having a gray hair or having a wrinkled face or being a tottering old man who is using a walking stick to walk. It is all about when your sphere of influence is able to reach out there. You can stretch your influence beyond your family. You can reach out to people in the church. You can impact on people in the country and all that. And you have seen some of these men that when there is an issue in the village, they are looked for. When there is an issue somewhere, they are looked for. Because their wisdom really matters. Their wisdom really counts. Now, apart from forms of manhood, we have also gone a notch higher, and we have looked at marks of manhood. And we have said there are many things that make a man. And we have said one of them is responsibility. We have said the other one is loyalty, royalty. We have talked about values and virtues like integrity, like honesty, etc., etc. And we have also underscored the essence of faith, that you as a father, you must be a God-fearing person, and you must rely on God to raise a family. And you must know that God is the perfect model of a father. Very, very important. Then we have also talked about types of dads. And we have said that we have 4 basic types of dads. We have said 1, we have got an absent dad. And indeed, this is somebody who is not there, maybe because of divorce, because of separation, or maybe because of death. We have also talked about a passive dad. This is a dad who is present but absent. We have also talked about abusive dad. This is the one that mistreats the family, mistreats the children, mistreats the mother in the full glare of the children. And lastly, we have talked about the present dad, the one who is the perfect example, the one who is out there to help the family, to help the children, etc., etc. I want to conclude by saying that you as a father, you must learn to invest in your children and invest for them. So investing for them could be taking them to school, buying for them whatever they want, preparing an inheritance for them. But all in all, we must also purpose as fathers to put some important values, important things in the lives of our children, just like many fathers have always done it. And that is very, very important as far as fatherhood is concerned. Somebody is saying here, good work, Victor. I'm Lynette watching from Embu. Nice talk. God bless you. So thank you very much, dear listeners. I'm Victor Ochieng. I'm an author. I'm a prolific writer and a trainer. It was great to have you. To get more of what I do, you can log into my website, www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. Thank you very much, the management of this TV, for even inviting me again, and I look forward to come more. So thank you very much. God bless you. All fathers out there, happy belated Father's Day. And remember the